I'm Benny Goodman, and this is my brother and Lost Symphony, Cory.
What's going on?
So we figured it's been a while now since we've talked to you, and you probably listened to our songs if you're watching this, and if you haven't, get on it. But we figured we would dive into what it took to make these songs and go through a bunch of the tracks, because if you've listened, there's a lot of things you can discover if you listen. So we're gonna go through them, and hopefully you can decide and learn new things.
Yeah, what a lot of people may not know is that these songs are put together over a long period of time. And so there's some interesting kind of stories and different processes that we went through. So hopefully this is interesting. Give it a shot. But we're just going to start playing the track, and then if we hear something worth noting, we'll comment.
And just to give you guys an idea, so when we did this song, we knew that we wanted to put Marty Friedman and Nuno Betancourt on the same tune. So we were like, well, what song do we use? I actually had a song from 15 years ago called Take Another Piece. And I just said, let's do this. And so this song, even the bassist, even the piano of this song, started more than 15 years ago.
Yeah. So let's see if we remember how this thing goes.
Yeah. I love when Marty comes in and you just know immediately it's Marty Friedman. There's some really cool electronic stuff going on in the back that I feel like over just the normal piano stuff that people may not know, that really creates an awesome ambience.
Yeah, it's one thing that definitely gets buried when you have, 100 and plus, maybe 200 tracks of
how many of those are just
going
buses?
on.
Yeah.
A lot of this is submixed, but so obviously you heard Marty there right off the top, which Ben, while I'm getting this, I'll bring up the electronics, maybe we can talk about how Marty actually got involved.
Yeah, so I mean, the thing was, when we first did Lost Symphony, the joke was, it's kind of like the Bill and Ted Van Halen thing. You can't make a video without Van Halen, but you can't have a band without, basically everything you need Van Halen. So for Ollie and I, when we used to have these late night talks about what, if we could get anybody, who would we get? Oh, Dimebag, Daryl, and Randy, they're dead. But the live people we talked about, he used to always say, dude, we should get Marty Friedman. Marty Friedman, Ben's so good. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm from Boston. How about Nuno Betancourt? Nuno Betancourt was the most ferocious player when I was growing up. Although I love Marty Friedman. I mean, the first 10 times I saw Megadeth was with Marty. So the joke was always well, what if we got Marty? Or what if we got Nuno? So when Ollie passed, it was very important for us to reach out to Marty, and we had already been working with Nuno, and we weren't vibing as much as I wanted to with our hero. So he had said something in passing, well, not everybody's Marty Friedman. And I called Cory up, I'm like, can we get Marty Friedman and Nuno on the same song? Because that would blow my mind. And as we've seen from the 10,000 comments on the freaking video, it blew a lot of people's minds. So to get Marty Friedman and Nuno Betancourt in the same track, I kind of call it putting the pandas into the same cage, because they're both so amazing, but it's they almost they weren't aware of each other too much, because they're so focused on their own music. It's Marty Friedman, I've been doing that for so long and focusing on Extreme, and Marty's oh, that guy that did More Than Words. And it's do you guys not know you're both the greatest guitar players in our fictitious scenario?
Yeah, and once they were involved, that opened a whole other can of worms just from the production side of things. Marty is very particular, as is Nuno. So we get some more stories to hit on that. But as Ben mentioned before, there's a whole layer of electronics,
wicked cool stuff
that our good buddy Brock Richards put together. So I'm going to solo
guitarist from Starset, but also married to our good friend Siobhan Cronin. So when she's recording stuff at home, he's like, hey, well, I can put some cool electronic stuff, and we're like, do it. And he did.
So we got some of this stuff going on. So kind of doubling the piano line there with some weird funky stuff they came up with.
And this was cool too because this was the first Lost Symphony song where we kind of added like an electronic EDM element to it. Not that I would ever call us EDM in the slightest, but you know, it's not the Queen thing, no synths. We're using synths.
And it's not very noticeable in the mix, but when you kind of pop it in,
it adds such a cool feel. It's almost like a syncopation going on. It hops.
I added that.
I mean, the thing is that, you know, when you have so many organic instruments, like a piano, you know, obviously incredible guitar playing from Marty Friedman, and you have layers of Siobhan, and I mean layers and layers and layers, to have something that is a synth, it cuts through the mix. So you don't need to have it loud, but it's taking up a sonic bandwidth that you don't hear on those other instruments. So it actually really adds, and it's one of those things, it's kind of like makeup. You don't want to put too much of it on because if you notice it, it's too much. It's the same thing. We don't want too much Brock. But if you put enough of him, he's great.
You say that, but our motto from the beginning has been more is more. So we try to fit as much shit as possible in there, and then...
You mean like Marty writing to us, like, maybe you should hold back with the crazy guitar playing for a few minutes. No. Because just so you know, like, my response to that was Ollie would have wanted this. And in truth, Ollie would have had Nuno and Marty and Alex play for 40 minutes straight and probably taken out the entire band if it was his way. Because this was a tribute for our friend Ollie. And I hope that wherever he is, that he's enjoying the fact that we got these guys together for him.
Cool. Let's jump back in. We'll hear the end of Marty's first solo here, and we're jumping into Nuno's, which is always exciting.
Another guy that from the first hit, you know it's Nuno. The angry Portuguese picket.
So just like the tastiest thing you could possibly imagine.
It's restrained. I mean, listen, those guys can play at absolute Olympic levels, and to hear them restrained, but those guys also milk every single note. So the thing with Marty is that it doesn't matter what note he hits, he can bend it right, and that tone he has in his fingers. And someone like Nuno, again, just those super high notes, they give me goosebumps. It's like that almost Brian May, David Gilmour, like he just digs into it the right way, and it doesn't have to be fast, but it has so much emotion in one note that a lot of, I feel like these modern super players are lacking. So if you're a crazy guitarist, listen to the beginning of this song and listen to the emotion. That's very simple.